It's the tool of expression.
It touches you on a level that cannot be explained.
Without artists, we have no mirror to who we are as a society.
You go watch movies, what is that? You go buy fine art, what is that? It's art.
It's fundamental to our very existence as human beings.
It was a safe haven for me.
It basically gave me so much hope.
I don't know what I would have been doing. I would have just been super naughty and running around on the streets and probably do drugs and die.
The importance of arts in a school is to build the holistic development of a child.
Absolutely imperative that young children from a very early age are exposed to art, do art for their own healing and their own souls.
After school, I had to go to the dance classes to unwind the situation that I was going through at home. And art, I find it as an escape of creating the world that I want to live in.
Art at school really does establish the grounds for critical thinking.
I know that there's a course in robotics, but really honestly, do we really want to act like robots? We need to have some sense of opinion, some sense of criticism, some sense of appreciation, and some way of thinking.
Science invents. That's what science does. It figures things out and whatever. And art digests.
We have blood flowing through our veins and a pulse and a heart. And that is what the art does, is it brings out all of those juices that's flowing in your body.
We worship through the arts. When we worship, we sing. We love through the arts. When you love someone, you're inclined to write poetry, and we express our human self through the arts.
If in a funeral, I must dance in a funeral. There's a dance for the funeral. If it's in a wedding, I must dance in my wedding. So there's always art in our everyday life.
If we want to go back to our history, theatre helped this country to be where it is now. If you're talking about Otatu Chonkane, if you're talking about Winston Chona, they use theatre for the outside world to know what's going on in South Africa.
We need to recognize what the power of art can be for our country. And it is as big, it should be as big as sports.
It's paramount, really, in my opinion, that creative arts is taught to everybody, not just school kids. I wish they could teach it in some companies.
The art is something that traverses the creative, it goes into the collective, it goes into the physical.
You know, becoming an accountant is equally valuable as becoming an artist. And people usually say it the other way around, but it is to be seen on the same level. It is essential.
Check yourself first in terms of like what your passion is, and then pursue it with everything that you've got.
And also love what you are doing, not fake what you are doing, because music will expose you.
There's so many things that the arts can teach you that you are not going to find in other places. It teaches you confidence, it teaches you ways that you can express yourself and interact with other people. It teaches you how to overcome your fears.
Dancing teaches us to practice, to rehearse, to do things over and over so that we build up the stamina to see it through.
How to stand and breathe and be confident about yourself, but it also teaches you how to empathize with other people.
And if we understand how people are not just communicating through the words that they speak, but through the hidden subtexts, through the physical language, through the vocal mannerisms that they share, I think we become better human beings.
You learn about people when you do dance. That's the bonus part of it.
Sometimes you can make something that can mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people, or even just to one person.
The activity of bringing something new into being is enormously gratifying, and to have that in one's day, every day of one's life is an enormous privilege.
You're able to stand alone in the world because you've created something that cannot be repeated by anybody else.
It's like exactly what I wanted my art to do, that it is shouting from faraway lands outside of South Africa.
I love being on stage, sharing my gift with people. I love it when someone comes to me after a performance saying, "You've really touched my soul," you know.
Our job as artists, particularly in live performance, is to rest in the day. And then we come out at night And when those people are at their most tired and uninspired and low energy, we tell them stories and revitalize them, re-energize them, so that they can go and do their work efficiently the following day. That's our job.
It's almost like you're part of a holy experience. You're sitting in a space, a live space, sharing energy with an artist on stage. And that transition, which is so delicate, it really does alter you on, I would say, on an almost cellular level.
We have the opportunity to see the individual story rather than just interpret broad strokes all the time. And that is how we're going to change the world. That is what helps us to be moved by each other, that we need to continually share our stories and our expressions and our feelings so that we can gain greater understanding and appreciation for that which is different.
Arts is about the soul. And if a country is without the soul, you're going to have computer programmers, you're going to have planners of a city without emotional intelligence or emotional spatial intelligence. And that is so important, that we can't create artists when you're 30 years old. You start with pre-primary.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome back after the wonderful breakaways. The ice has now been broken, and I'm very sure you are as excited and as inspired as I am. Welcome back, Mpumalanga. Welcome back, Northern Cape. It's wonderful having you here.
Yeah, welcome back, Massachusetts, and welcome back, Limpopo.
Yeah, Udil, we really have colleagues, friends across the world and in South Africa. And today is all about creating community. It's very important that we know that the conference is not going to end here today. It's not ending tonight. It's not ending tomorrow. And that is why we have this wonderful app. And please go onto the community tab and post there, connect with people. This is your chance to meet other people, to set up meets and greets with people, Western Cape, Northern Cape, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and even abroad. As I say, you can continue with the conference and with the discussions along after, this workshop and the workshops that you are attending. I know many of you were burning to ask questions in the breakaways, and the time might not have allowed it, but please go and speak to your facilitators. There's a functionality where you can click on and you can talk to the facilitators or the speakers and you can ask them questions. Odile, there was someone who asked about the Winnipeg Kentridge lesson plans. I posted the link in the chat of the breakaway too. So if you are looking for that set of lesson plans, just go back to the chat and you will find it there and you can use those lessons. Very important also, if you go onto social media, what is it? It's hashtag CAC 2024. Remember to mention that so that we can know that you are part of the movement and part of the discussion.
Yeah. Yes, and it's been wonderful to look at people engaging on social media. I see Chomi Yabana is ranked, I don't know if he is still ranked 8th, but he was posting the fact that he was ranked 8th on the leaderboard. Tuelo Vincent Di Cabela was talking about the fact that he is going to be attending today, so welcome. Nicole Rooney, Head of Business Development, loved connecting with people at the Creative Arts Conference. To the magic of the Cami app today. So wonderful to see this engagement and that you are talking about it on social media. I see that there's also been a lot of engagement on the community tab. What is really getting me excited are the meetups that people are scheduling. Shout out to the Kuruman meetup of creative arts teachers. That is really, really exciting. I also just want to take a moment. I think that it's Friday. It's the end of a week. I think that people are probably weary and tired at the end of the week, but I do hope that the workshops that you've attended so far has injected some energy and enthusiasm into your day and into your zest for the craft that we practice. I know that you are probably also watching and cooking your supper at the same time or doing your washing. Thank you for still connecting with us even while you're doing this. You probably want to get this all done before load shedding hits. So thank you for connecting and engaging with us. There have been articles posted by attendees, by speakers. Go ahead and read those articles. These are priceless resources. It's just been so wonderful to see people continue. You know, the magic of the conference is not just during the conference. It continues.
Absolutely, it is. It is. I think, what is very valuable for me was how people engaged in the chats while watching the presentations and asking questions and often answering each other's questions while, engaging in the breakaways. So in that way, we really become a group of people who learn from one another. It's so powerful when peers learn from one another. And I think the power of this conference lies in that it's not just the facilitators or the speakers who are sharing their knowledge and their experience, but it's also the power lies in the attendees. All of you who are attending, share what you know, share your wisdom, share your experience, share your skills, because that is how we all enrich one another. And as I said, this is a community of practice.
Absolutely.
I think, Adele, you are going to talk about the partnership with the WCED. So I just quickly want to stand still on the video that we just saw that linked us from the breakaways into this plenary. This video is available on the WCED e-portal, and it's part of a series of 94 videos that was created by the WCED in partnership with the Klein Karoo Nasionale, the Kunstefees, the KAK during COVID. And these videos are all about advocacy in the arts. So there's a video on advocacy in dance, drama, music, and visual art. But there are also quite a number of skill development videos in dance, in drama, music, and visual art. But also, we all know that advocacy is such an important part of the work of a creative arts teacher. I know, when I was teaching, it's so important to make people understand why the arts are so important and the impact. It is forever, one of our functions to make people understand why the arts are important. And therefore, those advocacy videos and interviews with artists, I think there's about 16 videos per art form that speaks about interviews with artists where they speak about, the value of the arts and how arts education impacted. And those are wonderful videos to play at your SGB meetings, at your school management meetings, to persuade people and make them just understand, why the arts are so important. And I will again post the link to those videos on the chat on the WCED e-portal. You can find them there, but they're also available, of course, on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think one of my big takeaways from that video was the fact that these artists are talking about creative arts education for the sake of excellent art, but also creative arts education for the sake of changing lives, for the sake of uplifting people at the end of a tired day, for the sake of bringing value into people's life. And I think that was just so incredible to see.
And later on, we are going to speak about art and the impact on the economy in South Africa. And what you'll also see there is how many of the artists speak about that. How do you make a living as an artist, as an actor, as a dancer, and, how you contribute to the economy of South Africa, how we develop arts consumerism in our country. But I am ready to hear more about the jingle that you have to share with us.
Speaking of consumerism, we currently have 2 contests on the go. We've got a photo contest, which everybody has been engaging in wonderfully. Now, we've got a second contest. It is a jingle contest. This is, you'll find this contest on the leaderboard. If you click on the prize button, this will give you all of the information about this contest. Please post your 30-second jingle to X and Instagram using the hashtag CAC2024. The prize for the best jingle will be awarded at the end of tomorrow's day. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think we are ready now to listen to our partnership.
Yes. Absolutely. When Rustenburg Girls Junior went into partnership with the GET Curriculum Directorate of the Western Cape Education Department, the focus was bringing access to quality creative arts education to the schools of the Western Cape. And it's so wonderful that that is now extended beyond that we are able to reach across the continent. How incredible is that privilege? I think it's just so wonderful when a shared vision comes to fruition in this manner. And it makes me think of this quote from Helen Keller. Alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much.
I absolutely agree. Without this partnership, WCED would never have been able to do this on our own. And I think, the synergy between the school and WCED just worked so well. So yes, thank you to the school, and thank you to everyone who was involved.
Next, we will be listening to an address given by Juan Benjamin, who is the Chief Director of the Curriculum Management and Teacher Development at the Western Cape Education Department. Let's listen to Juan Benjamin's address.
Esteemed delegates, fellow creatives and passionate educators, on behalf of the WCED, I'm thrilled to welcome you to the 2024 Creative Arts Conference hosted by Rustenburg Girls Junior School in partnership with the Education Department. It is a gathering that promises to ignite your senses, expand your horizons, and reimagine the role the arts play in education. Imagine stepping onto a stage where soundscapes fill the air with wonder, visual arts blossom in the foundation phase, playmaking breathes life into dramas, free keyboard music challenges conventions, game-based stars engage learners, and art infiltrates even the most complex mathematical problems. The Creative Arts Conference is not just an event. It is a catalyst for change, a celebration of diversity, and a platform for shaping a brighter future through the transformative power of the arts. Our lineup includes, but is not limited to, luminaries such as Dr. Marlene Leroux from Artscape, Professor Anne Bamford, Strategic Director of Education and Skills for the City of London, Yvette Hardie, Arts Advocate and National Director of Assetege SA, Liesel Hartmann, Head of Education at Zeitsmacher, Charles Johan Lingevelde, a world-renowned composer, Oliver Tanmer, percussion specialist in Stomp-style body percussion, and Dr. Selo Galane, whose groundbreaking work in free keyboard music has garnered global acclaim. And of course, there are many more, as you will see when you see the program of the conference. Embark upon an inspiring journey where we delve into vibrant themes such as indigenous dance traditions, cultivating a prosperous creative economy, and championing equity and inclusivity in our classrooms. This conference honors the value of diversity and collaboration, principles that foster a dynamic and empowering learning environment for both learners and teachers alike. It serves as a one-stop shop for experiencing and learning about the rich tapestry of creative expressions that shape our world. During the next 2 days, you will explore the synergy between science and art in promoting innovation and STEAM education, where we embrace a holistic approach to learning that nurtures creativity and critical thinking. In conclusion, I would like to extend my gratitude to the valuable partnership between the WCED and Rustenburg Girls Junior School, which allows us to amplify the impact of arts education and nurture the creative potential within each learner. Together, we can achieve more than what could ever be accomplished alone. To quote the great Pablo Picasso, every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up. At the Creative Arts Conference, we aim to help you preserve that innate creativity throughout your entire educational career. Let's make every classroom a canvas for imagination and every learner an artist for their own destiny. Welcome to a world where creativity knows no bounds.
There's no bound. That is exactly the world we are in today. It is now our very first panel discussion, and I'm very excited to share with you our panel leader and also discuss the topic of this discussion with you, which is unleashing the power of creativity, fostering a thriving and sustainable creative economy for the youth in South Africa. And I think that is a very, very powerful discussion topic. And I think it is very important to listen to this. And the panel leader is Yvette Hardie. And it is a huge honor for me again today, Yvette, to welcome you. Yvette is a mentor. She's a wonderful friend. And she's a theatre director, producer, educator, and an art advocate. She is the national director of ASIGEJ, South Africa, and she served as the president of ASIGEJ from 2011 to 2021. It was 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
And 10 years of networking across more than 100 countries, Yvette. Yeah, she traveled a lot, but more than that, she is valued for her work in art education, having written national curricula and textbooks for dramatic art, for creative arts, and she has taught widely within the secondary and the tertiary context. Yvette was a teacher like most of us. She was the head of drama at the National School of the Arts, and she produced the award-winning Culinarius Theatre Lab production, Truth in Translation, which toured widely over several years. Very importantly, Yvette was awarded the Mickey Minor Award for Lifetime Achievement from the International Performing Arts for Youth for a contribution to theatre for young audiences, locally and globally. She's also the deputy chairperson of I'm for the Arts and Stand Foundation. That's quite a mouthful. But Yvette, it's such an honor to have you here, and thank you for leading this panel and the very, very important discussion that we are going to have now. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Anina. Thank you for that very warm introduction. And frankly, I'm very excited to be here because I'm going to be speaking to two of the people who really inspire me in this industry.
I mean, it's a career that spans over 34 years. The company, Vueni Dance Theatre, is celebrating 25 years this year. So there's been many lessons learned over the years. But also, I mean, the lessons that I have learned as an individual over the years of me training as a dancer and then evolving to becoming a teacher, evolving to becoming a choreographer, and then finally to becoming a founder and artistic director of a company. And then to move on from that experience of all of this to a point where I wanted to reclaim my artistic cravings once again. And that meant the company itself, Vueni Dance Theatre, needed a shift, needed to think in terms of its business model. A soundboard was needed to be in place, which really helped in terms of formulating the new strategy of the company. So the entire value chain of Vueni Dance Theatre, it really stems into what the strategy looks like. And our strategy has been always about serving the community and ensuring that the stories that we tell are first and foremost promoting the South African languages, but also speaking to our history in making sure that we understand the now in our effort to navigate what the future, which is very, very bleak at this point in time. But putting those strategies together with our board has been really a good foundation for us to be talking about sustainability. So we had 4 pillars in the company that speaks to sustainability. One is education, which means that the work that we're doing has to filter through the education system, whether by allowing the curriculum to evolve, the school curriculum to evolve into a curriculum that recognizes dance. And through the work that I have done, some of my works are part of the school's curriculum for grade, I think 8 to 12. So that on its own allows a sense of visibility within the school system, because the more of the younger people we touch and we allow to be part of the ecosystem, the creative system, that allows us to have to speak to future supporters of dance, of theater. And these are the people that we're seeing now that are coming into our spaces, coming into dance, they're buying tickets to come and see shows. So we have built over the years a following, a sustained audience, which is able then to sustain our project. The second pillar is collaboration. We are very big on collaboration. We collaborate with artists that are not only in dance, but also in music and visual art, like the work I've done with William Kentridge in The Head and the Load, the work I've done with musicians like Volta Kellerman and Simpiwe Dana. Those kind of productions allow us to tap into the audience that will not necessarily come to dance, but they might be coming to see the work because there is a visual artist involved or there's a musician that they follow involved in the production. So that on its own extends, again, our support base and building onto our audience, because it primarily we do need bums on seats, and by creating strategies that are speaking directly to that allows us to be in a position where we can create more works, because and have also the confidence of walking into a theater like the Joburg Theater, which is a 1,000-seater theater, and they will know that you'll be able to sell tickets. In that way, you're able then to gain also support through commissions, the support to co-productions, which allows us then to have body of work that can sustain itself, because we have more and more spaces that are able to take on the work because they know we've got the support base that can support that kind of work. The other thing, which is I think is critical to us, was that we needed to step out from the idea of a begging bowl, where we have to go to the traditional funders, where we have to fill in application forms, and then you wait, for someone to tell you whether you qualify or not. So we decided to create a corporate identity in terms of Vuyani Dance Company. This corporate identity then goes out and markets the company, markets the business. It goes out in hand with a production that is sellable to international players, to local players, to the corporate SA. So all that income that is generated speak to the diversification of income streams, which then allow us to create a sustainable model for Vuyani Dance Theatre, because then the income is not only on one stream. So we've created a multifaceted way of looking at income streams and production value, which allows us then to speak really into a wider range of consumers of our art. The last one is, again, part of education is our outreach program, where we not only put the work in terms of the curriculum, but also now we're going in to implement the work itself. So we go to schools. Each one of our dancers will have to select a school or an organization within their community, and one afternoon in a week, they spend their time in that community. So they speaking to that community, they working with that community or the school in order to enforce again the physical connection to dance. Thank you.
I think that's really fascinating, and this sort of multi-dimensional approach that you are describing is very rich, and it also just demonstrates how an artist needs to be thinking beyond simply what they are creating into all the elements that might support that creation to live in the world. So I want to come back to some of the points that you've raised a little bit later once we've heard from Mariapaola, but I believe that she is back in the room, and I hope we can hear her now. So let's just check that, and hopefully we've got her back.
It could actually be a better way to first have heard Gregory and then what I'm saying, because what he's done with Vuyani Dance company aligns directly with what I think is needed for fostering a thriving and sustainable creative economy for our youth. This has already been covered. My social media stuff is on the side if you'd like to connect with me. I also have a website where I share my artworks and I share blogs as well as academic papers and writings. Okay, so now this is the part of the topic. Currently, sorry, I'm just trying to move. Yeah. Currently, the education in the creative and cultural industries, both in school and at tertiary level, has quite a lot of, they seem generic, but processes that they follow. I'm just going to give some of the points. The first is they're very practical in nature. Oh, goodness. The first is they're very practical in nature. They focus on concept development, and professional practice at a tertiary level is seen as very important. Professional practice is within a context like architecture. You'll learn what bodies you have to be a part of, what exams you have to take. Within visual arts, you'll learn about art fairs and galleries and things like that. There's a strong focus on skills development, but it is very related to the sector that you're working in. If you study dance, you will learn about skills development in the dance sector. So it's very, very sector specific, and it's highly personal. When you study the arts, almost always you are asked to look internally, to find your story, your truth. And there's a lot of huge benefits in that. But a challenge of that is that sometimes it leads to insular thinking. It leads to not seeing a bigger picture because you're so deeply looking at the details. And then it's also often, almost always, mark-based. Whether teachers and lecturers want it or not, they have to give students a mark at the end. So subjectivity is very dependent on the teachers. And no matter how free students are pushed to go, it all comes down to a mark system. So there's quite a lot of linear processes in the style of education, even if teachers and lecturers are looking for ways out of that. Now, the next slide is showing things that I believe are missing from our education. I'm not saying at all that I think these things should be replacing all of these. These are all critical to substantial creatives. But these are the things that are going to help them have a sustainable career and help us as the leaders within the industry grow the creative economy. We need more creative entrepreneurship, understanding of the industry as a whole, systems thinking versus silo thinking, a relationship to the fourth industrial revolution, distributed networks, the gig economy and new economies, and a basic understanding of business principles. I'm going to speak into a bit of detail on some of these topics. My point in my presentation isn't to go into detail on any of these topics, but it's to give you some food for thought, to give you some sense of areas that are starting to become focal areas globally, and I really think need to become discussions amongst educators and amongst leaders within the creative and cultural industries. So firstly, what is the creative economy? Again, even when we're teaching fields, I teach within the visual arts department at the University of Johannesburg, and the students are taught a great deal about visual arts, but they are not aware that visual arts is one domain of the creative economy, and it sits alongside craft. The first domain is cultural and natural heritage. The second is performance and celebration. Then we have visual arts and craft, books and press, audio, visual and interactive media, and design and creative services. This is not the official framework globally. Different countries interpret their creative and cultural industries differently. In South Africa, we do not have an official definition of what falls within the creative and cultural industries or the creative economy. However, the SACO, which is the South African Cultural Observatory, they do most of the research for the Department of Arts and Culture. They often, almost in all their research, use UNESCO's framework, which is the one that you see in front of you. Now, if you look at the different categories, the sector of creative and cultural industries is no longer seen as just arts and culture. Arts and culture is one component, a very important component, but it's one component of the 6 domains, and it falls within the different domains. Gaming, software development, design, fashion, industrial design, architecture, they are all parts of this incredible industry that is growing globally. So what is a creative entrepreneur? When I teach entrepreneurship to third-year visual arts students, I have to spend the first few lectures on capitalism and on, I'm not trying to turn you into a greedy monster, because their idea of entrepreneurship is the idea of taking advantage of somebody, being in it for greed, being in it for profit making. And that's simply not the nature of a creative entrepreneur. Creative entrepreneurs have 3 priorities, and they're at different levels depending on where they are in their career. That's generating income is 1, social impact is another, and cultural authenticity is the 3rd. So creative entrepreneurship, all of these have incredible value and importance as they grow their creative output. So when you speak about a creative entrepreneur, you are not suddenly removing the value of authenticity and social impact. You are introducing a new component that will allow these creatives to not be desperate to find money for transport, which is the current reality we are facing in South Africa. The vast majority of micro enterprises are 1 to 5 employees. The average turnover in South Africa is about 350,000 Rand. Now that's the turnover, not the profit. What that implies is that they are earning most likely between 10 and 15,000 Rand a month. And they have 1 or 2 people helping them who are earning a minimum wage around 5,000 to 7,000 Rand. And then the rest is going to materials and costs for the work that they do. Creative entrepreneurs love collaborating and working with other creatives. It is fundamental to how we work, how we are inspired, and how we grow as individuals, which is very different to how we are taught. Prevalence of project-based income generation, which often falls within the informal and the gig economy. A lot of the work that creatives do is not on record. They're dealing with cash, they're dealing in the informal sector, they do not have consistent income. They might have an incredible month, and then the next 2 months, they're surviving off that month. So even if a creative might seem like they do great, like a visual artist sells a work for 50,000 Rand and it seems like they're flying, chances are that 50,000 Rand is going to cover them for the next 3 months. There is a huge importance across all sectors, all domains in the creative and cultural industries on networking and events for career development. This is fundamental to youngsters who are coming from difficult backgrounds or for backgrounds that are disconnected from the buzz of the creative economy, like coming from a rural setting, because they have no connection to that network when they're starting out. This is very important to my PhD and the work I'm doing. The way of work in the fourth industrial revolution is a distributed network. Now, the first and second industrial revolutions were a centralized network. The easiest way to explain them is factory workers all told one thing that they must do. They don't know why, they have to just do that one thing, and they report to a line manager. The line manager reports to a manager, the manager reports to a head manager, and so it goes up and up and up until you get to the CEO. The CEO has final say on everything and is the one who is making all the decisions when problems arise and feeding it down the chain. A decentralized network, which is how the third industrial revolution functioned, is more like how schools function. All schools have to report and do final exams to a centralized body. But how a school decides to operate is dependent on that school, its corporate body, and its principal. So each of the nodal points has a hierarchical system, but it's much smaller. It's not as large as a centralized network. So each school will have a ladder within it, and it will then report to other networks. That's a decentralized network. The distributed network is how the creative and cultural industries have always worked. Now, for the first time, they are offering insights into how we are being told in the fourth industrial revolution we must start engaging and working. It's very similar to how the web is set up. There's millions of nodal points, and the picture on your screen, picture that as a moving, organic, three-dimensional entity. And those lines those lines between the circles are connecting and disconnecting and connecting and disconnecting. None of it is constant and none of it is absolute. Creatives will connect with each other when it is mutually beneficial. When the project is over, they will disconnect and they will connect with others. It is a completely flat model. And what that means is that there is no hierarchical process in the way that the creative and cultural economy works. It is very challenging for governments and corporates to engage with the creative and cultural industries because they are mainly working in a centralized network. They do not understand the nature of how we work. And the big thing to realize is it's not because we don't have a system. We have a very robust, relevant, and contemporary system, which we internally do not understand. And if we do not understand it, how can we get annoyed with government when they are not implementing strategies that can feed our sector? They are implementing strategies through a hierarchical, centralized, bureaucratic system. They are trying to fund 10 million to one organization, assuming that that organization will then feed down. It's not how the creative economy works. And we as educators and leaders need to start understanding the sector so we can prepare our students to understand the world that they are entering and that they are not at a disadvantage because they are the fringe or the rebels in society. They actually are very, very relevant in this moment in time. This is my last slide.
So valuable. And I want to bring Greg in, otherwise we're going to run out of time.
Sure, no problem.
Not at all. Yeah, thank you. So, what you've just been talking about, I think, is so relevant in the sense that essentially what you're saying is that we're working in a very kind of malleable, in a way, organic and interconnected way, which doesn't fit in the old paradigm. Yes. And I wonder whether that model that you've just shown us isn't in a way, doesn't have the potential to be more responsive to the kind of future that we're looking at the moment. A future which is very unpredictable, which is quite chaotic, which is full of crises, global crises, local crises. Are there things that actually the arts and the cultural and creative industries have as strengths? They maybe are not even realizing our strengths, but that they can utilize to be more sustainable in this very volatile environment.
Are you asking me or Greg? Absolutely, 100%. The only way that I started analyzing and questioning this industry that I love and I'm a part of is when I stepped out of my comfort zone and did an MBA. And in that space, my class was made up of corporates and governments, and my way of thinking and my views after 20 years in an industry was so fundamentally different to how they think. In the creative economy, you have to think like an individual or you will disappear. Your artwork has to speak your voice or you will never survive. And in a corporate context or government context, until you are at the top management level, you must keep quiet and do what you're told. And that's how you get a promotion. So the basic understandings are completely different. And in our modern world, this model was started for actually a communications connection, the best way to develop communications in the 60s. And it's only recently starting to be incorporated into networks and how people think. But this model offers the highest level of flexibility, the highest level of diversity, and the highest level of creative thinking. So if we are in this modern world having to adapt and change and incorporate, the creative economy offers a model that could be analyzed in how corporate and government have to start restructuring.
I mean, so much of what you were speaking about in terms of the way Vuyani dance has evolved and the fact that you have created this sort of business arm, the fact that you're so multidimensional in terms of what you do. You've just released your books which tell the story of your life for children and then also for teenagers, and you're finding so many parallel ways to reach potential audiences. Do you relate to what Mariapaola has just been saying? Do you feel like it is about this adaptability and interconnectedness that needs to be developed all the time?
Yes, I mean, absolutely, Yvette. And I think, Mariapaola, thank you for that presentation, because it also helps in terms of us identifying our strengths as a creative sector. And in identify our strengths as a creative sector, we also have to be aware of the fundamental story that is unique, particularly in South Africa. And this is where I think the success story of Vueni Dance Theatre has been mostly about telling our own unique stories. And the world has been an oyster for that, because everyone in the corners of the world are interested in innovative ideas that are coming from the continent. It's no longer about the skins and shells. People are desperate to hear the real stories of people. They are desperate to know, and we've been the cultural ambassadors of this country. And that success story really speaks to the way in which I've also taken opportunities in terms of seeing how can the work be more accessible beyond just having to travel and be in a different city. I am already working on 2 films which will be released. One is a documentary, and another one is a feature film. And we're going with a feature film because I felt like if we've got to compete, we've got to compete on that highest level as a Hollywood film. So we're going really in. It's been a work that has been in research for the last 3 years. It's not easy, but I'm learning also about just how complex the film industry is, but it's something that I want to do because, again, it's an opportunity to set ourselves, to set dance in a different mode, in a different medium, so that it can still travel, but packaged differently. And I think the lessons of COVID-19 have been about us being flexible in terms of creating a business model that can interchange based on the conditions that you operate in.
While they were students. So at a high school level, I encourage teachers to learn about the creative economy and learn about how the world is starting to see this as a new economy in a way that is very different from this can I have a little bit of funding impression that we've had for so long. There's a huge opportunity, and if our youngsters have a sense of that world that they enter into, alongside a sense of creative entrepreneurship, there is a higher chance of them surviving.
Yeah, Yvette, is a very tricky question, but we've got to create a system where we're not shy to talk about artists having to earn for their creative work. And I think that's where social entrepreneurship comes in. Or creative entrepreneurship, which I think is vital. It's something that we don't learn at school. It's something that we're not being taught even when you walk into a dance company or a professional setting. You pick up these things as you move along. So what we're doing as Vueni Dance Theatre is that as part of the training of our dancers, the minute they say they want to create a work, we say, okay, right, create a budget, and they are allowed to also be responsible for that budget so that they can also know that managing a production is not only about being in the studio and making it. It's also about where the money is going to come from and how we're going to utilize that money and being responsible for it at the same time. But also what is important for me, and I think this is where the crux is how you're going to earn an income from that. Because my policy is that for every funding that comes in, we need to triple its value. And that's how we've done it with Vueni Dance Theatre. If you give me 100,000 to make a work, I need to ensure that from that work, I'm going to generate at least 300,000. And that is just the way we've generating this. But then it speaks to that social entrepreneurship mentality.
So thank you for all the comments. We appreciate that. Keep that going also on the community. And if you have anything to share, please do that. As we come to the end of today, which is quite sad because I think we can go on for the whole evening. We might change the coffee to a glass of wine, Udil, I don't know. But I would like to ask the two of you, is there anything of today's sessions that really stand out for you? I know it's difficult to give me one, but what would you say, Odile, stood out for you about today's session?
Thank you, Anina. I think coming out of this panel discussion that we just had, I was really inspired by the notion of dispelling this idea of the struggling artist and the role that we have as educators to play with regard in educating our children, and just, putting that idea to bed. That for me, that just really struck a chord with me.
Yes, I think for me, I have to say that just looking at the agenda for today, from where we started with Dr. Marilyn, where she went in and spoke about the power of unity, collective effort that we have within the art industry. And then it ended up so nicely with the panel discussion. She set the tone for the rest of the day. And at the end of it, I don't want it to end. I wish I could sit and learn some more and find out more, especially with the panel discussion that we've just had, where they highlighted the power of entrepreneurship and also looking at individuals, whether corporate versus individuals. So that for me makes me excited for tomorrow. Yeah.
Definitely a golden thread that goes through everything that we've experienced today. And I do think tomorrow we will be able to pick up on many of the issues that were raised in Yvette's panel discussion. So the entrepreneurship and the value of the arts economy in a country's bigger economy will definitely be touched on by Professor Anne Bamford tomorrow. And that definitely is not to be missed.
Yeah. And so as we're heading to the end of our day today, I'd just like to take the opportunity to once again remind our attendees to visit our exhibitor space and just have a look at what everyone is presenting. Take note of the promotions that they're offering, the competitions. I know some of those prizes are really wonderful opportunities for your schools. So please do go ahead and have a look. I think that we've got 6 exhibitors spanning across art education, music education. So please do go ahead and visit that space. And so now it's time for some prize giving.
I'm wrong.
So throughout the day, actually this photo contest was posted a couple of days ago, and people started engaging with that and posting memes, I think about 3 or 4 days ago already. So thank you for that. It's been highly entertaining looking at these photos and memes that are very relatable as a teacher on a Friday afternoon. So thank you for that. I have the name, yes, of our winner of the photo contest. Drum roll, please. Lisa Natus, congratulations. You have won a Take-A-Lot voucher. Our administrators will be in touch with you to make sure that we get that to you. Then we also have a winner of the leaderboard for today. There's been a lot of engagement. People have been posting articles, people have been posting polls, people have been setting up meetups, both in person and virtual. And so today, a very, very well-earned top spot on the leaderboard is Jenny Starkey. Congratulations, Jenny Starkey. We will be in touch with how to get your Take-A-Lot voucher. Now, today we had 2 competitions. I'm told tomorrow we will have many, many more. 8 competitions. We want to give you prizes. So please go ahead and click on Win a Prize. Take part in our competitions. The exhibitors also have competitions. I think the big one for tomorrow is the jingle. So I think take some of the inspiration that you had today and feed that into your 30-second jingle that we hope that you'll post on Instagram and on X using the hashtag CAC2024. Tomorrow, I am so looking forward to tomorrow. Please take a moment and set up your agenda for the day tomorrow. Log on to Hoover and choose your breakaways.
Thank you, Odile. Thank you, Anina, as well. Remember to log on 15 minutes before 9 a.m. tomorrow. We start promptly at 9 a.m. South African time. And thank you for joining us. Thank you to my co-host, Danina, and thank you, Odile.